Hello everybody, my name is Rachel and it's time once again for a weekly wrap-up. Today is November 29th, 2015. By the time that many of you see this, it'll be December. And it's like, where is this year gone? I'm sitting here trying to plan out the videos I want to do through the end of the year because I realized with all the year-end stuff like favorite books and statistics and stuff like that, I'm gonna have to plan exactly what I want to do each week so that I get it done in December, or I might have to put it off until January. I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna tell you about what I read this past week. I think I read 5 books this past week, but I'm only gonna talk about 3 of them because one of them was Dragonquest by Anne McCaffrey, and like I mentioned last week, once I get done rereading The White Dragon, which I'm like a quarter of the way through, I'm going to do an overview video of the original trilogy of Dragonflight, Dragonquest, and The White Dragon in the Pern series to go along with my Harper Hall trilogy overview. So that'll probably not be this coming week, but the week after, because I do want to finish The White Dragon this week. I also read my absolute favorite book of the week, which was Young Woman in a Garden, a story collection by Delia Sherman. You might recognize Delia Sherman's name because I mentioned her when I read The Fall of the Kings. She co-wrote that with Ellen Kushner. And I ran across the title story, Young Woman in a Garden, in one of the issues of Uncanny Magazine, and I loved it so much that I broke my rule about not buying books right now and bought this straight from Small Beer Press, and then I read it in 2 days, and it was so good. It's so good I'm going to do a separate review in order to talk a little bit more about the stories in it and why I like it so much, but yeah! Also, I've come a really long way in the past year in appreciating story collections. I just never thought that I would be so highly rating a story collection. If you'd asked me that a couple years ago, I would have said, what? Is it Border Town? If it's not Border Town, who cares? But yeah, I'll be talking more about this in probably my next video that'll be up. The other book that I'm not going to talk too much about because it's the 5th book in the series is Rules of Engagement by Elizabeth Moon. It does concern Esme Suiza and Bruin, aka Bubbles, who was a major secondary character in the first 3 books in the series within the Harris Serrano books. And these 2 women, Esme and Bruin, they have extremely different personalities, though they share some similar qualities at the same time. In this book they meet, they really don't get off on the right foot with each other, they really piss each other off, and Esme blows up at Bruin about something. She says some insulting things to Bruin, though they happen to also be kind of true. Bruin flies off in a huff, goes off to do other things, and gets captured, and the story is basically about them trying to get Bruin back. I got bogged down in the middle of this book, like at the beginning of the month, I think, and I could not get past the 50% point. I think I just put the book down for like almost 2 weeks and didn't read any of it because rape is used as a major plot device and as a character development tool to mature one of the characters, and I hate that. That's inappropriate and wrong and disgusting to read about. I did not want to read about a character being raped, forcibly impregnated, and this stupid, overly religious, misogynistic, malicious society. It was not fun to read about. I got very upset reading about it. It just bothered me and it put me off reading for a couple of days. Like I wanted to like put bleach in my brain and just forget I had read that. I did finish the book. I ended up giving it 2 stars because I was really unhappy that Moon used rape in that way in the story. I just thought that was completely uncalled for. I am gonna finish this series. I have the last 2 books in the last bind up, and I'm pretty optimistic that those books will not repeat the rape stuff, but if they do, and you know, Catherine, tell me now, because I need to be prepared if it does. To make myself feel better while I was trying to get through Rules of Engagement, I got Hamster Princess, Harriet the Invincible by Ursula Vernon. I love Ursula Vernon. And if you want an author who does fairy tale retellings with practical, no-nonsense female characters that point out how ridiculous their situations are and then subvert them, you should go pick up her stuff, especially her fairy tale retellings under her pen name T. Kingfisher. Anyway, she's also a children's author, and as a children's author right now, I think she's primarily known for the Dragon Breath series, which I haven't read, I'm not interested in. I've read the first book, I take that back, and it wasn't my kind of thing. I think it's a bit more boyish than I wanted to read. Hamster Princess, clearly by all the pink and purple and glitter on the cover, is meant for little girls. Despite the branding on this, it is pretty awesome and not like princessy to the max like Disney Princess that I despise so much sometimes. This is a retelling of Sleeping Beauty, basically. The hamster princess who is cursed by the evil fairy rat or whatever, that she will prick her paw on a hamster wheel on her 12th birthday and fall asleep. And the twist that's so funny is that instead of getting really depressed and unhappy and scared about this, Harriet realizes that in order for the powerful curse to actually happen, she must survive until her 12th birthday. She's invincible! The curse won't let anything happen to her until her 12th birthday, so she can go cliff diving or whatever. She can go fight evil monsters and she will win and she won't get hurt because she's invincible. It's really well done. It's adorable and it has hamsters in it and it's funny and it does exactly what you probably want a princess book to do for your daughter, so, or your niece or whatever. I don't really have any female relatives, I'm sorry. I have one female cousin and she's not a child anymore, so definitely recommended. The other thing that I read this week was Nova by Samuel R. Delany. I buddy read this with Joe from Final Blow Joe and had a fun time doing that. This is my 4th book by Delany, and this is the one that a bunch of people were telling me to read before I read Dahlgren, and I now understand why. Dahlgren is an 800, almost 900 page epic that's kind of a slog to get through, and it's very dense and it's extremely weird, and I did a review on that if you want to know more. This is like the mini proto Dahlgren in a way. There's just a bunch of stuff that Delany does in this, including the writing style, some of the character types, some of the monologues that one of the characters, Catton, goes on about, elements like people who have only one shoe on, one barefoot, the rough, calloused, gnarly hands and everything. That's all elements that reappear in Dahlgren. And the story, though, is very, very different. I'm gonna just read you the back. I know this kind of like it feels like a cop-out, but I think the back is pretty good. The balance of galactic power in the 31st century revolves around Illyrion, the most precious energy source in the universe. Captain Lork Von Ray's varied and exotic crew know their mission is dangerous, but they have no idea of Lork's secret obsession: to gather Illyrion at source by flying through the very heart of an imploding star. So yeah, the story is about trying to fly through a nova to get Illyrion, a precious power source, and Von Ray wants to do this. He is in competition with Prince Red and Ruby Red, who are from another family that's also trying to gain power over the known universe, basically through economic means. And most of the book, though, is the journey to the nova. It's about flashbacks to Lork's childhood when he first met Prince and Ruby Red, what those characters are like. And then there's another character, one of the members of his crew named Mouse, who plays this syrinx. It's a musical instrument that doesn't just play sound, it's a sensory organ. It can project images, it can make you smell things, and it's like an all-sense playing thing. And that is used a lot in the story as well as entertainment, but also as a weapon. Now that I've read some of his later work, like Dahlgren and Tales of Nivarion, I think his style has matured more. This has that feel of his earlier science fiction work, and I think this is considered one of like the last of his classic science fiction novels from the 60s, and then he went on to do different stuff like Dahlgren in the 70s. And I can kind of see that dividing line. He's a little bit different, and the shift starts in this book. If you read this book and then you go straight to Dahlgren, you will see what he was doing there. It is very good. And he does manage to pack in a lot of stuff in there, commentaries on writing and the novel and what story is, on economics and revenge as well. So good characters, a really interesting setting, and as always, excellent writing. And that's all she read. I read a lot of short fiction and novellas this past week as well, and I should be filming my November short fiction favorites right after this if I stay on the ball, so that'll be forthcoming as well. Lots of good stuff. I wish Rules of Engagement hadn't been so disappointing, but sometimes that happens. Everything else was really good this past week, so I recommend pretty much all of that to you. If you've read any of these books and you want to talk about them, please comment down below and talk at me. And thank you for watching. I'll be back to talk at you again in my next video. And until then, bye.